Okay, we are back in the start menu, but this time I'm on another system. This Windows 8 runs on my desktop in VirtualBox. That's why the screen is a little different. It's a 4 by 3 rather than a 16 by 9 size, but that is no different. I happen to like this size. It's kind of a nice size. I wanted to show you here how I organized this start menu, because it's a little different than what we have seen in the previous chapter. I organize it a little bit like the traditional start menu, with the left pane where I have programs, command prompt, Paint, WordPad, Notepad, and of course the desktop, which is an application, and the weather and the Internet Explorer. And then in the right pane, what you usually see in the right pane, like documents, music, videos, devices and printers, computer, default programs, help and support, and this one doesn't really belong here, just got tagged on. And then I made an additional grouping about some of the system functions, like control panel, task manager, resource monitor, etc. And last group, which is my shutdown button if I want to shut down the system. So that is one way you can organize it. You can organize it any other way too, but in the beginning that's probably the least confusing, because it reminds you the old start with the left pane and the right pane. So let's look at the desktop, because on the desktop there's no start button. As you can see, there is absolutely no start button, because the start menu is the one you saw. However, there is a hidden start button, and that's really made for tablets. You have to go all the way to the bottom here, to the left, and then start shows up. And if you press on that, and you have to be okay, it's a little finagly, then start would come up. But it is much easier to press just the start key on the keyboard, so I wouldn't bother with it. When you get your first desktop, of course you don't have a nice picture with a birdie like I have. You have the Windows 8 logo background, but that's easy to change. Put some pictures in, and then you set one of your pictures as a desktop background. You get actually three things. You get the recycle bin, you get the Internet Explorer, and you get the Explorer. All these icons I have added myself, and the folder up here I've added too. We'll discuss it at another time. The Internet Explorer is the usual Internet Explorer that you are familiar with. And if you go up here and right click, you can put the different bars in. I only lock the toolbars, and I show the tabs in a separate row. That's what I did up to here. And of course the normal functions, for example, when you control and plus and control and minus, you can increase or decrease the resolution of the Internet Explorer. So that is very much familiar. And then Explorer is also very much familiar, the same Explorer as you're used to. Now, since we're here, let me just show you how these tiles here in the start menu of music and documents and pictures and videos got there. It's very simple. You just right click on a library and then say pin to start. You can also right click on, let me use music here. You can open the folders and, for example, right click on my music and pin that. Anything that is a folder, pin that to start. Anything that is a folder you can pin. You can also, as you see, I have several music folders here. I can right click on a folder and pin a particular folder to start if I want it. However, you cannot pin files to start. So if I go down to a file like this one here and right click, there is no pin to start. So folders you can pin to start, Any folder you can pin to start, but you cannot pin files to start. So this is how you get this. And then other things like computer, for example, you can also right click on and say pin to start, etc., etc. There is another good way of pinning things to start, as I had shown you before, and that is via all apps. When you go right click on the start menu and go to all apps, then of course whatever you want to pin to start, like this cleanup for example, you can pin that to start, and you can also pin it to the taskbar, which is very convenient. And let's just pin this one to the taskbar, and let's go back to our desktop, and you see now this was pinned to the taskbar, and if you open it, it starts some cleanup function, which I really don't want now, and I don't want to keep that here. It was just for demonstration. This is how these guys got here. Now what I'll say, well, this one is probably one you want to keep handy. This is your control panel, and this is a traditional control panel. There is no change to the control panel that you're used to. And then this is a WordPad, which I use very often to just store temporary data, the snipping tool, and of course sometimes I want some music, so I have my media player here, because very often I play music from Windows 8 in the VirtualBox on my Windows 7 system, because that's a guest system, Windows 7. And then the last one, I don't want to click on this one because it's a shut off button. It would shut off. By the way, it's interesting. It's here in VirtualBox. It works very, very fast. Windows 8. The time to start the system is about 10 seconds or so, and the time to shut it down is about 2 seconds. So it's extremely fast. But remind you that my host system, the Windows 7, sits on a solid state disk, so that in itself is of course fast. Okay, so far for that. Now let me show you what I have over here. Remind you that in Internet Explorer you have up here what is called actually we don't have that. Let me get this bar. Which one is this? This is favorites bar. Yeah, the favorites bar. Okay, you have the favorites bar up here, where you can quickly record a web page, or keep a web page. So when I click on the store here, the Windows 7 forums, which is this web page currently here, will actually be recorded there. And the favorites bar, and this happens to be the same as links, is this one. And there is a Windows 7 forums that we just clicked on, and we're going to delete this. We don't need this in here. So everything that's in the favorites bar shows up in the links, which is very convenient, because I usually keep some web pages here that I refer to all the time, but from time to time I have to weed them out. They have a tendency of mushrooming, and with the links they are easily accessible. I don't even have to go into Internet Explorer. Then all is something else. That's this folder is a repository, which need not be on the desktop, but the desktop happens to be handy to do it. So if I go into this folder, I currently have 3 folders, but there's hardly anything in it. Websites, for example. Let's go back to let's make a little experiment with that. Let's go back to our Internet Explorer here. Okay, let's make a shortcut of this website, and let's do that the following way. Now, how did I do that? I did press start and the right arrow at the same time, and then I pull this icon out, and it gives me a shortcut. I don't really need this. This gives me a shortcut of the Windows 8 forums. And when I open my folders here and I go to websites, and then I do the same trick, start and right arrow, and I pull this into here. See, I used to have only 2 shortcuts here because I haven't really done very much with it yet, but now I have 3. And when I go down to my all, which is the name of this folder here, and this is a toolbar, it's called a toolbar, and I go to websites, see, then I have my Windows 7 forum here, and all I have to do is click on it, and there it is. So that's very handy. And on my operational Windows 7 system, I have a lot of them. I have about 50 programs in the program folder. I have maybe 20 websites that I visit very often, etc., etc. It's a very convenient way. All you have to do in order to get that is right click on the taskbar and go toolbars and go to new toolbars, and then all it does, it asks you where is your folder, and in my case, since I keep it on the desktop, I would find it on the desktop. This is the all folder, and all you have to do is double click on it, and then you have a new toolbar. It's very convenient. So as far as the desktop is concerned, except for the missing start menu or the start button in the traditional way, is about the same operation as in Windows 7 or Vista. There is not really a big difference. The big difference is really on how to handle the start menu and how to handle the all apps, which used to be all programs. That's where the big difference is. So let me close with the desktop right here, and then we'll see what we'll do next. And I have to stop my program here. Okay.